Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how I made up the ropes and rigging for the ships that my husband created using Black Magic Crafts method of making ships. I do recommend taking a look at Scotty's video as well. He just came up with a really cool one too. But in here you're going to see how I use just some floral tape and wire to make something that looks pretty cool and definitely antes up the look of your ship once added to it. So take a look, and as always, enjoy crafting.
Alright, so for those of you who have been watching the videos, you know that I like to use floral wire and floral tape. Again, in this video, these are two items you definitely want to have on hand. When it comes to making the ropes themselves, it's going to be taking that thin floral wire and wrapping it either with a moss green or a brown floral tape. In terms of length, what I did was quadruple the length that I would need, and then fold it over and twisted the two lengths together so I can make a nice little loop at the top, as you can see here, but then it gives me 4 lengths of what's going to be your rope. You might want to play around with it to see how you want it to be. A lot of it depends on the length you need and where you're going to put it on your ship. So the other thing you want to make sure you have on hand are bamboo skewers. What I do is I gradually increase them little by little so that you have a longer piece, then not so long, and it sort of goes into a triangle shape. And then that way it gives you a graduated length as well. But as you notice, it goes from being just the normal natural wood color that you get with the skewer to brown. Reason why I put the brown floral tape over the skewers is because it gives that tacky texture to the skewer, which helps keep the wrapped wire in place as well. So to wrap the skewers, you want to make sure you have them cut to the lengths you want, and just like you would with the wire, get that tape around there. Except you kind of want to leave a little bit of a top part so that you'll get that first roll in, tuck over that length, and then you start rolling down the skewer, ideally. So that way you'll have something that helps the wire catch on without sliding around all over the place and without needing Elmer's glue or any other type of glue, really. And once you kind of get it back to middle again, it just rips off and sticks to itself nicely. So you want to make sure you have these skewers pre-cut, pre-wrapped, and that'll get you ready and started for this next step. And what you want to do is, I start from the smallest, work my way up to the longest in this case. So you're going to take your wire, and right at the base where you finish twisting off, you want to start wrapping the wire up and around, because I place the skewer in front of the lengths of the wire. So you bring the wire up and around and then back around to the back, as you can see on this side. So you want to do that with all the lengths of your wire. And what you may find with having the loop in the middle here is you're going to want to sort of work half and half. So one side goes over one part of the skewer and the other goes over the other side. And then that way you have your rope wrapped and started around your smallest piece. And then again, as always with florist wire, you want to make sure you get everything placed where you want it, and then give that tug, because that tug is what's going to help keep things better in place. If you are super concerned about anything wiggling around on you, then what I do suggest doing is going to the back side of your piece, and you could run a little bit of the white glue, Elmer's glue, whatever it is you prefer to call it, and that should hold it nicely in place. So that gets your first piece ready. There's nothing more you really have to do to the top piece. What you do now is move down to your second piece, and again, you're always going to be working with the skewer piece placed on top of your wires, and you're going to work one wire around at a time. So to start getting the rope worked around, basically it looks like lengths of rigging here, you're going to, once again, bring the wire up and around, but bring it around to the left-hand side and wrap it around slightly, but you're not going to wrap it all the way down. Instead, what you're going to do is take the end length of your wire, you're going to insert it between your first wire and the wire next to it, and basically thread that space. So what happens is you're actually wrapping the wire up and around again. So you'll get this sort of upside down U shape starting with your rope. So I'll do that again for you. You basically bring your wire up and around to the left-hand side of itself, pull it back, then move it to the other side in that space between the wire you're currently using and the next wire over, and bring it around, and you get the upside down U shape again. So that's how you want to start wrapping these around your skewers. So you're going to take your other lengths of wire and do the same thing all the way across. Make sure you space everything where you want it, and then give it that tug before moving on to the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and work through creating more of these lengths down my rope, and I'll show you how to do the finishing touch with creating the rope loop lengths at the bottom of the piece. I've gotten all of the skewers wrapped up with the wire now, and as you can see, it has that graduated look like I was talking about before. To finish this piece off so you have the rope loops, you're still going to wrap the wire as you have with all of the other posts, but at the very bottom what you do instead is you pick up the length of wire again, and you're going to wrap it all the way around your wire base. So you make a full circle around it. So you can see there, it's gone all the way around. And then what you do is I kind of just tuck my finger underneath the post to start to make a loop shape like that. And then you basically take the excess wire and keep wrapping it around itself until you have it wrapped all the way around. And since you have the floral tape around it, you can kind of just give it a little squeeze and it'll help keep it in place. And then you can play around a little bit with the loop. You can make it narrow, you can make it wide, but once you get it all wrapped up and finished off around itself, you get the neat loop draping look as if this were excess length of rope or a coil of rope that was wrapped around the base of the item here. So you want to make sure you do that to all of your other lengths of wire, and you'll end up with a neat looped edging, which looks really good when placed against the ship. So I'm going to finish getting all of these loops made up, and then I'll discuss with you the painting technique I used for finishing up this piece entirely. I have all the rope loops wrapped up and ready to go. As you can see, I feel like I'm doing like that makeup modeling thing you'll see on those posts sometimes, but you can see I have the loops made up. I have it wrapped around the skewers. So really all I have left to do is painting the wire that right now is wrapped in the green floral tape. I'm going to use the Craft Smart suede color, which is this one right here, and I'm going to paint it along the lengths of green as well as the loops of green. So basically if it's green, paint it with the Craft suede, because that's what's going to start giving it a more rope-like appearance. The one thing you want to avoid though is oversaturating the wire, because what you don't want to do is get it too flat, because you'll find that the green sort of works to your advantage. It gives you more of a well-used, weather-exposed rope as opposed to just a length of very pale wire that's been painted the color of the suede. So I'm just going to do a little length here so you can see. So it's almost like dry brushing, but just a little bit thicker, because you don't want the green to show through entirely, but you do want it to hint through in different spots, so that way you get the textured appearance. And I also have some Craft Smart chocolate brown on hand, simply for the need of if I slip up and the paint of the suede color goes onto the brown, I can just go back and touch up my little mistake there. But as you can see, as you start to paint the wire and you do it a little bit thicker than a dry brush, it gives you the texture as well as more of the color of what you would expect from rope. So what you want to do is paint everything that's green with the suede color, Again, if you have any hiccups, you can always just, like I have a little spot up here, you can go back with the chocolate brown and touch up your little mistakes there. And then what I will do is take a very thin black wash and go over this whole piece, but do it one side at a time. Don't paint the whole thing and then let it dry, because inevitably one side is going to get screwed up because the black wash will stick to whatever it is that's underneath. When you go to lift it up, you won't have that finish that you want to have. But when you do the black wash, make sure it's super thin, because what that's going to do, it's going to sink in between the ropes. So like these areas through here and up here, it'll sink in, and again, it's going to heighten that detail that you have going on with this. So that ideally, in the end, what you're going to end up with is something that's going to end up looking like this on your ship. So as you can see, the black wash, it's given it that weathered, older look, and you can see the details of the rope that was once wire. And all I did to attach this was use my glue gun. So I did hot glue on the top where the loop is, and then I put hot glue on the back part of the last bar, and I just stuck it onto the ship. As to where you want to place these, it's completely up to you. We're kind of going for what looks good and fits the whimsy of it all. These are functional. You can set your figures onto the slats, like stick an arm through it, and it'll hold them in place. For the crow's nest, really all I did for that, I don't know if you can see it, but for the crow's nest, all this was a water bottle cap, and I nipped the edge of it to sort of flute it out, and then take the coffee stick stirrers, the wood ones, and hot glue them around the outside, and it gives you a crow's nest shape. And then paint it however it is you want to have it painted. I did coffee bean, or coffee brown. I did a dry brush of a lighter brown, and then I did a black wash over it just to kind of give it more of that aged, weathered look. So there's a lot of potential that can happen with making these ropes with the wire. I also added on, as you can see here, loops of rope going around the back part of the ship. These are actually just finishing nails that I put through the foam and painted a golden bronzy color. So it's just some fun things you can do to ante up the detail. We took washers to make, the porthole window look. My husband actually cut off an old figure that was not looking so great, and that turned into the figurehead of the ship. So there's just a lot of little details you can add to enhance the look of your ships and give it some function too, because like I said, you can put them up here and have them playing off the rigging as well in a battle type of situation. So I hope that gives you some inspiration and gets you going with creating some neat additives to your own ships. And as always, comment below with any questions. I am more than happy to answer them. And as always, please to share anything you've created, because I love to see what other people come up with. Thanks very much and enjoy.
What are you gonna do? You gonna help?